lettuce, tomato, onion pickles, hot oil vinegar.
Reubens, bagels, and kniches, oh my. The old-time Jewish deli is making a big-time comeback, thanks to guys like Steven Peljovich
Light rye, pumpernickel.
and his legendary New York-style sandwich shop named Michael's Deli.
Michael's Deli's been around in Massachusetts for almost 40 years now. I bought the deli a little over 4 years ago. For me, I grew up in Miami Beach, Florida, and in my neighborhood we had 3 different delis. The drugstore sold fountain drinks and kniches and sort of all that stuff that would be traditional deli foods. So for me, I hope this is those sort of memories for people. The smells, the food, the taste, bring them back to a time when they went with their grandparents to have lunch, which people don't really do so much anymore.
But they do still come into Michael's Deli because this place is definitely the real deal. They cook over 500 pounds of corned beef a week. The bagels come straight from the Big Apple. And the sandwiches, they're just flat out addictive.
We know our regulars. Most of the time my guys will be firing up the sandwiches before they even make it up to the front of the line. How's it going? What are we getting you? So our menu is what you would expect to find in a traditional old school fashioned deli. Corned beef, pastrami, brisket are the features. Our turkey's real turkey from a local farm. Delis don't really exist so much anymore because there's a ton of work, there's a ton of labor involved in it, there's a ton of love that you need to do. And if you don't love what you're doing, you're gonna find a way to cut corners and you're gonna serve people product that's deli meats, but they're not real deli meats.
Take, for example, the Reuben. It's a beast of a sandwich, stacked high with their signature corned beef, sauerkraut, Swiss cheese, and house-made Russian dressing on fresh pumpernickel. Or for a little Cuban twist, try the so-called Reuben sandwich, packed with ham, pastrami, pickles, and Swiss.
You wouldn't know by looking at me, but my parents were born and raised in Havana, Cuba. Cuban sandwiches were something that I grew up with as a kid. It was the reason my dad said we'd never be kosher because he loved Cuban sandwiches and he wasn't gonna give them up. So this is my ode to my heritage, to my dad, and sort of the things he taught me about food.
So today, along with his wife Lori and their kids, Steven has put all that knowledge, passion, and calorie counting be damned attitude into one truly insane sandwich called the Slim's Triple Brisket.
And I have a picture of it up front, and people like look at it, and it's taller than a can of soda. And it also became our signature sandwich, which is sort of a secret because it's not on the menu. You have to sort of know, and it's literally a 2-pound sandwich. It's a full portion of our corned beef, our pastrami, and our brisket stacked up high on a custom-made onion roll. You have to share it. It's an obscene amount of food for one person to try to eat.
But of course, it's also obscenely good.
Can I say a deli orgasm? I mean, it's a deli orgasm. It's literally the holy trinity of deli foods wrapped up together in a sandwich.
Other popular sandwiches include the Thorny Black and Gold, named after former Boston Bruin Sean Thornton. It's packed with pastrami, cheddar cheese, and honey mustard. And if you like a little added crunch, try the so-called Slovenly Italian, served on a sub-roll with mortadella, capicola, provolone, and salt and vinegar potato chips. So along with all the sandwiches and smoked meats, chopped liver, and noodle pudding, the biggest seller at Michael's Deli might be the kniches.
Traditionalists, again, I'll use that word a lot when we talk about delis. They'll tell you there's only one kind of knish. It's a potato knish, and depending on where they grew up, it's square, it's round, it's fried, it's big. I tend to think a knish is anything yummy, wrap it in dough and bake it, and you now have made yourself a knish. People who don't know what it is, I tell them it's like a giant pigs in a blanket. I carry 6 on the menu all the time that never change, and then every week for the last 4 years, I've done 3 oddball ones that I call crazy knishes.
And he really does mean crazy. Altogether, he's created over 300 flavors, even dessert versions like this graham cracker, chocolate, and marshmallow-infused s'more knish. But the most popular is the pastrami.
The pastrami knishes is one of the 6 sort of signature knishes that we carry all the time. The first bite on the tongue, you're gonna get the good deli mustard that's on the bottom of the knish, and then you get the great flavor of the crust of the pastrami, the sweetness of the inside of the pastrami. It's just to die for. Those are the flavors I grew up with as a kid. You know, I can remember the smells, the feels, the touches of every single deli I went to eat with my family. My goal is that when people leave here, I want them to leave here remembering the things that they grew up with.